today I'm going to show how to make a really nice simple hook, just an S hook. This is actually the very first thing that I ever forged. I took a class and I made this and a couple other hooks. So I think most people, when they first start forging, one of the first things they make is some kind of hook. But there's a few things you can do when you're making a hook to make them really look nice, like a lot better than, just kind of a mangled up hook. And the big thing is, if you're going to do scrolling, the negative space, the gaps between your steel is really, really important. You want there to be equal space, between your stuff. It has to do with the golden ratio. You can kind of read into that as much as you want, but it just basically works out to what's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So pay attention to your negative space. Make that stuff equal. Make a nice gradual taper. I'll show you how to do that. And then this part, it should curve back into itself before it goes the other way. So you want that to come in and then come back. I really like to use a bending jig. I think this is the same. So basically that will go all the way around it, and I'll show you how that works. But you want to fit on that, and then this little post is what you use to hold your steel. So make it whatever shape you want the inside of or whatever size you want the inside of this to be, and that'll be your hook size. This is just 1 inch, and that makes a nice little hook for just about everything. So I have a little bit smaller one too, but this is probably the one that I use the most. So yeah, without further ado, I will start on. I think my forge is about warmed up. We'll start working on that. Alright, so I'm going to start out by forging this square point into the taper. Make sure once you get this small down here, don't keep working it too cold. It'll crack, split on you, and you need that to be a nice point for your scroll. Alright, so keep working this down. If you want a nice, if you want a lot of scrolls to keep it spinning, I'll kind of show you an example of that, but you want to make it longer. If you just want a short little recurl, then you can make a short taper on it. So the longer you taper it, the more you can scroll it. I'm going to take that down to hex. So just start by taking the corners off of it. Let me get that just focused there. And then we'll go round next. Alright, so now we'll start taking that to round. Alright, so now I got a pretty clean taper. And you just want it to fade into that square, so I might need to take this back a little bit more just to fade it a little bit. The goal is to really not be able to notice the transition from square to round. Pretty good there. So now I'll do the same thing on the other end, and then we'll start making our scrolls. Alright, something I was going to mention too is when you're making this taper, to make a nice fine point, bring it to the edge of the anvil so that your hammer can hang over the edge Because if you're out here, your hammer face is going to be hitting the face of your anvil, and it's going to be really hard to not either damage the anvil or it's just going to be bouncing away from it. So keep it at the edge of the anvil, and that way you can work your hammer over the edge, kind of half on, half off, and that'll help you get to a much finer point more easily. So now I'm going to work my scroll. So I'm going to start over the edge and tap as I feed that piece into it, then flip it, pull it back on itself, and raise the piece up as I'm tapping. Feed a little bit more. Just keep repeating that raise up as you're curling it back, kind of hammering toward yourself. Once it starts getting cool, just reheat it. Now you can also kind of cheat a little bit and use a needle nose to get in there and tighten that up if you need to. This is looking pretty good. You don't have to put this much care into it, but it's just one of those things that if you do, it's going to make the final product look that much better. So it just depends on how much effort you want to put into it. Alright, so I'm going to leave that like that, and then I'm going to do my other side, and then we'll go to the bending jig. One thing I wanted to mention too is try to make sure the curl is square with your piece. So in line, and in line to where you can't see. You can see it on the edge. And then forward there a little bit. So try to make sure those are lined up. Do that when you do your scroll, so that your curl isn't all wonky. Alright, now I'm going to take this and quench just the curl in the water. Tip of it so that I can hook it in here and it won't get all deformed. And I'm going to bring this all the way around, all the way past where I want it to be curled. Actually, I'm going to do it this way so I can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to straighten it back out. Now, I didn't curl that quite far enough so you can see how it doesn't really come back, and this is not really, it just kind of goes into it. So I'm going to heat it and show you the complete bend. So there you have that nice shepherd's hook shape, and then the recurve right in there. Alright, so now we got our hooks in there. The only thing left is I like to add a twist in it. You don't even have to do that, but people love the twist. So I'll add this a decorative twist. I'm just going to put the piece in line with the bottom of the hook in line with the top of the vise, and then twist it same spot on the top. I'm going to grab it with my tongs and twist even with the bottom so that the twist is the same on both sides. Alright, so I'll put that in there, line it up. The top. I'm going to crush it, and then I'm going to grab it here, same distance where it's at on the bottom. So give it a twist. Line it up. There you go. Now I'll straighten that out. I mean, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can just put it in device like this. That's pretty close there. I like to use a rawhide mallet. And just give little love taps, get it perfectly straight the way that I want it, but that's really not bad there. Like, nobody would be upset about that, so there you have it. So I'll just touch it up with the rawhide mallet. I'm gonna put my touch mark on it, and that's all there is to it. I like to douse them. I just usually dunk my hooks in vegetable oil to finish them. You can use more expensive stuff if you want, but since they're going to be outside and things like that, just heat it up to a dull, even a black heat is fine, and then dunk it in oil, or you can use a oil-soaked rag, and that'll pretty much completely waterproof it. And I'm pretty particular with stuff. I think attention to detail is really what sets your product apart from the next guy, so I try to be kind of particular about just making sure my stuff is lined up and looks good, I guess. I think if people are going to spend money on a hook from you instead of Amazon, might as well be good looking. So that's pretty much how to make a basic hook. I've made a bunch of those hooks. It's good hammer practice, good bending practice. You can learn a lot of stuff, especially about forging, kind of fixing stuff straight. Once you do that scroll, you'll find that you'll kind of like twist things, or you'll forget to pay attention to which direction things are going and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a very good beginner project, and you can learn a lot from doing it. So hopefully that's helpful.